You see, the good news is this. The foundation of the Christian faith is not other Christians. The foundation of the Christian faith is not the behavior of other Christians. It's not having all of your questions answered. It's not having all of your prayers answered. The foundation of the Christian faith is the resurrection. And Easter addresses things that there are no other plausible explanations for. I mean, for instance, think about the church. I mean, in all honesty, there is no plausible explanation for what's taking place here this morning. I mean, the Christian church, there are millions and millions of people all around the world singing in languages that you will never understand. And they're all worshiping the risen Jesus. 1/3 of the world's population are believers in Christ. 1/3 of the world's population are worshiping the resurrected Jesus this morning. And there's no plausible explanation for it because, they're worshiping a Jewish carpenter who lived in the armpit of the Roman Empire some 2,000 years ago. He was only public for about 3 years. He never traveled as an adult. He never traveled more than 100 miles away from his hometown. And yet, word about this Jesus spread around the Mediterranean basin, crossed Europe, came to the United States, all around the world. 1/3 of the world's population believes in Jesus. And the only plausible explanation for it is the resurrection. I mean, think about this. Caesar Augustus. Unless you're a historian or a history prof, you probably know nothing about Caesar Augustus. I mean, he was the first Roman emperor. Caesar Augustus issued in all kinds of reforms. I mean, he made a great impact on the Roman Empire. And yet the truth is, we know very little about Caesar Augustus. He is simply a footnote in the story of the birth of a Jewish carpenter. Or how about Pontius Pilate? I mean, straight up, you probably know nothing about Pontius Pilate. No idea in the world where he lived, no idea. I mean, we probably know nothing about Pontius Pilate, and yet we speak his name every year during Holy Week. I mean, did you know that the New Testament was not compiled until somewhere around 250 years after Jesus' death and resurrection? I mean, the first time, that's conservative, the first time that the word New Testament was used was about 250 years after the resurrection. In other words, there was no Sunday school. There was no Sunday school teacher saying, stand up, everybody, let's open up to the book of Ephesians and see what Paul has to say. And yet, the church survived. The church grew. I mean, how did it survive? I mean, how is it that you and I are here in 2022, St. Petersburg, Florida, lifting up our hearts and our voices in praise? I mean, especially since in the first century, the Jewish leaders and the Roman Empire kind of teamed up, all in order to wipe this Jewish sect called the Way off the face of the earth. And then all of a sudden, there was a handful of believers, of Jesus followers, who spread word, and some 2,000 years later, here we are.